Abandoned alien twins, one cruel note until a human said, "You're mine now." The cargo ship drifted at the edge of the trade lane like something already forgotten. Its hull was scratched, its lights weak, and its transponder barely whispered its identity. Most pilots ignored ships like this. Old wrecks meant paperwork, danger, and bad luck. Ethan Hale did not ignore it. From the cockpit of the Wayward Sun, he watched the slow rotation of the vessel on his forward screen. He was alone, as usual, hauling repair parts between stations that no longer bothered with full crews. Human ships were cheaper that way. One pilot, one mind, one set of hands. The ship's ID marked it as cargo class, no life signs registered, no active claim filed. Salvage law allowed inspection. Ethan sighed and set his ship on a slow approach. He told himself he was doing it for the credit payout. He told himself that twice. He did not believe it. The docking seal protested as the two ships connected. Old metal meeting older metal. Ethan sealed his suit, clipped his helmet on, and stepped through the airlock. The inside of the cargo ship smelled of cold metal and stale air. Emergency lights glowed low and red, giving the long corridor a warning look. Crates were stacked in neat rows, all sealed, all tagged for industrial recycling. No bodies, no damage, just silence. Ethan moved carefully, boots echoing softly. His suit scanner still showed no life signs. That should have been the end of it. Then he heard something. It was not a sound exactly, more like a pause in the silence, a wrongness. He stopped walking and tilted his head. There. Again, a small movement of air. A faint shift, like someone breathing very carefully. Ethan followed it to the far end of the cargo bay. Behind a stack of crates, wedged between bulkhead and container, was a storage pod. It was not sealed like the others. The lock was broken, forced open and then badly repaired. Ethan knelt and pulled the pod door wider. Inside were two small shapes. They were wrapped together in thin thermal cloth, skin pale and faintly glowing with soft color patterns that flickered when the light touched them. Their bodies were light, fragile-looking, with long fingers curled tight against their chests. Large eyes stared at him without blinking. Alien children, twins by the look of them. They did not cry. They did not move away. They simply watched him with wide, careful attention like animals that had learned the cost of noise. Ethan's scanner updated, late and embarrassed. Life signs detected: juvenile, malnourished, dehydrated. He swallowed hard. This was illegal, very illegal. Abandoned non-human young were classified as biological remnants. The law said they were to be reported, transferred, and processed. That word covered many things, none of them kind. Ethan reached slowly into the pod and found a thin data tag taped to the inner wall. He activated the translator. The message was short. Defective, do not return. That was it. No names, no species mark, no instructions. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment. He had seen this before. Not here, not like this, but the meaning was the same. Someone had decided these lives were inconvenient. Someone had chosen empty space over responsibility. When he opened his eyes again, the twins were still watching him. One of them reached out slightly, then stopped, hand trembling, unsure. Ethan took off his helmet. The air was thin but safe. He wanted them to see his face. Humans were strange to many species, but eyes were eyes everywhere. "It's okay," he said quietly. "I'm not going to hurt you." They did not respond, but the faint color patterns on their skin shifted just a little. Ethan removed his gloves and reached into his suit pocket. He pulled out a ration bar, broke it in half, and held one piece out flat in his palm. The twin closest to him leaned forward, slowly, every movement careful, measured. They sniffed the food, then took it with shaking fingers and shared it with the other. They ate like they expected it to be taken away. Ethan looked around the cargo bay again. No cameras active. No logs updated recently. Whoever had left them here had not planned to come back. Station law required him to report the find immediately. He knew the protocol by heart. He had followed it before. He remembered the last time. He stood up and keyed his comm unit. He did not call the station. Instead, he sealed the cargo bay doors from the inside. The ship's internal system chirped a warning about beacon delay. Ethan accessed the control panel and disabled the automated alert. Salvage claim pending. Inspection ongoing. He turned back to the twins. "I don't know what you've been through," he said, keeping his voice steady. "But you're not staying here." One of them tilted their head, studying his mouth as he spoke, as if trying to understand the shape of the words rather than their meaning. Ethan carefully lifted the thermal cloth and checked them more closely. No visible injuries. Their bodies were light, too light. Their pulses fluttered under his fingers like trapped birds. He activated his suit medkit and injected a gentle nutrient mix into a skin patch. Both twins flinched but did not pull away. "Easy," he murmured. I know." The color patterns on their skin brightened slightly, then settled. Ethan felt it then. A pressure behind his eyes, a warmth in his chest that was not his own. It was faint, uncertain, like a question asked without words. Empaths, maybe, or something close. He let the feeling sit there, did not push it away, did not fear it. "I'm Ethan," he said. "I fly the Wayward Sun." He hesitated, then added, "You don't have to understand, just stay with me." The pressure eased, replaced by something softer, less sharp. Trust, maybe, or hope. Ethan stood and looked around one last time. There was nothing else to salvage here that mattered. He carefully lifted the twins, both of them light as empty blankets, and held them close to his chest. They stiffened at first, then slowly relaxed, heads resting against his suit. As he carried them back toward the airlock, a warning tone echoed faintly through the ship. A station ping, requesting status update. Ethan ignored it. Back aboard the Wayward Sun, he sealed the airlock and set the twins down gently on the small medical bunk near the cockpit. The ship's lights warmed automatically, adjusting to human comfort levels. The twins blinked at the change, eyes wide. Ethan pulled out water packs, adjusted their flow to low pressure, and guided their hands. They drank carefully, shared everything. Never letting go of each other, Ethan watched them for a long moment. He knew what this choice meant: fines, blacklists, worse. Humans were tolerated in alien space, not trusted. Taking what others had discarded was seen as interference. He sat back in the pilot's chair and powered up the engines. The station hailed him again, louder this time. "Unregistered delay," the automated voice said. "State purpose." Ethan keyed the channel open, then closed it again. "No," he said softly. He looked back at the twins. They were watching him now, not with fear but attention, as if something important was happening. Ethan made his decision. He cut the channel, disengaged docking clamps, and eased the Wayward Sun away from the dead cargo ship. The stars shifted outside the viewport as he set a new course. As the ship accelerated, one of the twins reached out and touched his arm. The contact sent a gentle wave through him, warm and unafraid. Ethan placed his hand over theirs. "You're safe," he said, voice low but firm. "You're not cargo, you're not broken." The station alarms began to rise behind them, distant but growing. Ethan did not look back. He leaned closer to the twins and spoke the words that changed everything, not just for them, but for the path he had chosen. "You're mine now." Not ownership, not control, a promise. And somewhere in the quiet space between stars, two abandoned lives finally stopped waiting to be left behind. The Wayward Sun moved away from the station with quiet speed, its engines humming in a steady, familiar rhythm. Ethan kept his hands light on the controls, as if any sudden movement might break the fragile peace inside the ship. Behind him, the twins sat together on the medical bunk. They watched everything: the screens, the lights, Ethan himself. Their eyes followed each motion with careful focus, like they were memorizing the world before it could disappear again. Ethan set the ship on a long drift path toward empty space, not toward any registered lane. Not yet. He needed time. The station's signal continued to call him for several minutes. Requests turned into warnings. Warnings turned into automated notices. Finally, the signal dropped. Either the station gave up or someone had decided to wait. Neither option made Ethan comfortable. He stood and moved back toward the twins, lowering himself so he was at their level. He kept his voice calm, slow, and simple. "You're on my ship now," he said. "It's safe here." The twins exchanged a brief glance. Not words. Something quieter passed between them. Then one of them reached out and touched the edge of the bunk, fingers pressing lightly into the fabric as if testing whether it was real. Ethan activated the ship's med scanner and ran it gently over them. The screen filled with data he only half understood. Their bodies were built differently from humans, but the warnings were clear even without translation. Hungry, cold, exhausted. He brought over a soft blanket and wrapped it around both of them. They did not resist. They leaned into the warmth immediately, shoulders relaxing for the first time. Ethan felt it again, that subtle pressure behind his eyes. This time it carried a feeling uncertain, fragile but curious. Not fear, not pain, relief. He exhaled slowly. "Yeah," he murmured. "I get it." He prepared simple nutrient broth using the ship's emergency synthesizer. He adjusted the formula again and again until the med scanner stopped flashing warnings. He fed them slowly, guiding their hands, showing them how to drink without rushing. They followed his movements closely, copying him with serious focus. When one of them spilled a little, they froze, eyes wide, waiting. Ethan smiled gently. "It's okay, really." The twins stared at him, clearly unsure what okay meant, but nothing bad happened. No punishment. No anger. They continued eating. Hours passed. The ship drifted farther from the station's reach. Ethan finally allowed himself to sit in the pilot's chair and rest his head back for a moment. That was when the memories came, not of space, of Earth, a flooded city. Emergency lights reflected in dark water, orders crackling over a broken comm unit. He had followed protocol that day, evacuated who he was told to evacuate, left behind who he was told to leave behind. He had watched the water rise through a viewport and told himself he had no choice. The ship chimed softly, pulling him back to the present. A proximity alert, not close enough to be a threat but near enough to matter. Someone was scanning. Ethan straightened and checked the display. A patrol vessel, non-human, running a wide sensor sweep. Standard procedure near stations. They would notice an unregistered course change eventually. He stood and walked back to the twins. They were lying down now, eyes half closed, bodies pressed together. The faint colors on their skin pulsed slowly in rhythm with their breathing. When Ethan approached, both sets of eyes opened instantly. "It's okay," he whispered. "Just resting." He adjusted the ship's environmental settings, lowering the lights and softening the sound of the engines. Then he returned to the cockpit and rerouted power, masking the wayward sun's signature as best he could. The patrol scan brushed past them. Ethan held his breath. The scan moved on. Only then did he allow his shoulders to relax. He knew this would not be the last scan, or the last ship. Word would spread. Someone would notice the missing cargo ship. Someone would check logs. Humans were easy to track when they followed the rules. Ethan changed course again. The twins stirred as the ship adjusted its heading. One of them sat up slowly and looked around. When they saw Ethan watching them, they hesitated, then reached out. Ethan moved closer, kneeling beside the bunk. The twins' fingers touched his sleeve lightly. This time the feeling was clearer. A question. Ethan nodded, even though he knew they did not understand the gesture fully. "I'm here." The pressure behind his eyes eased. The twin relaxed, leaning slightly closer. Ethan realized then that they were not just sensing emotion. They were reaching for connection, testing it carefully. He stayed with them while they rested, speaking quietly now and then. Simple words. His name, the ship's name. "Safe. Here. Stay." The twins did not speak, but they listened. Their skin patterns shifted softly with each word, responding to tone rather than meaning. Later, when they slept fully, Ethan returned to the cockpit and opened the galactic network. He did not send messages. He read. Abandonment cases were common, profitable. Children sold, traded, or recycled for research. It was all written in clean language, wrapped in policy and efficiency. Humans had protested once, long ago, then learned it was easier to look away. Ethan closed the screen. He plotted a route toward the edge of human-influenced space. It would take time. Days, maybe weeks, avoiding lanes, jumping through quiet systems. The ship hummed as it obeyed. When the twins woke again, they were calmer, less rigid. They explored the bunk area with small, careful movements. One discovered a reflective surface and tilted their head, watching their own face with curiosity. Ethan brought them clothing from the ship's spare supplies. Simple fabric, adjustable. He showed them how to wear it. They struggled at first, then helped each other, always together. He noticed something else then. When one twin moved away even slightly, the other grew tense. Their colors darkened. When they touched again, the colors softened. Bonded, deeply. Ethan adjusted his plans. He always adjusted for family units. A warning alert interrupted his thoughts. Incoming transmission, private frequency. Ethan frowned. Very few ships knew that channel. He accepted the signal. A familiar symbol appeared on the screen. A human rescue network marker, old and unofficial. Ethan Hale, a voice said. You're running dark. Ethan closed his eyes briefly. Yeah. You picked something up, the voice continued. Station logs flagged an anomaly, non-human juveniles. Ethan did not answer. A pause followed, then the voice softened. Are they safe? Ethan looked back at the twins. They were sitting together on the bunk, watching the stars through the small viewport. Their reflections overlapped in the glass. Yes, he said. They are. Another pause. Longer this time. Then keep flying, the voice said. We didn't see anything. The transmission ended. Ethan let out a slow breath he hadn't realized he was holding. The twins turned to look at him, sensing the shift in his emotions. He smiled at them, small and tired but real. We're not alone, he said quietly. They did not understand the words, but they understood the feeling. As the wayward sun slipped deeper into open space, the twins leaned closer to Ethan, resting against him without fear. The universe outside remained cold and dangerous, full of rules written by those with power. Inside the ship, something else was being written. Not law, not ownership, belonging. And somewhere far behind them, the station logs updated, marking the cargo ship as cleared, the contents as lost. 2 lives erased on paper, but very much alive among the stars. The stars ahead of the wayward sun stretched into thin lines as the ship jumped into quiet space. When the jump ended, the universe settled back into calm darkness, broken only by distant lights and drifting dust. Ethan released the controls and leaned back. His body felt heavy, not tired in one place but everywhere. The kind of tired that came from choosing a hard path and knowing it would only get harder. Behind him, the twins reacted to the jump at the same time. Their skin colors flared bright, then faded quickly. One of them made a soft sound, not a word, more like a breath shaped into worry. Ethan stood and moved to them at once. It's okay, he said gently. Just a jump, we're still here. They watched his face, then slowly relaxed. The colors softened again. They had learned something important. When Ethan said it was okay, it usually was. That did not mean they were no longer afraid. It meant they trusted him enough to believe fear did not mean the end. Over the next few days, the wayward sun moved through empty systems. Ethan avoided main lanes, choosing paths that cost more fuel but less attention. He taught the twins small routines, how to sit safely during jumps, how to drink without spilling, how to sleep when the lights dimmed. They learned quickly. They also changed. Their movements became less tight. Their eyes stayed open longer. Sometimes, when Ethan spoke, one of them would tilt their head and make a quiet sound back, like they were trying to answer. Ethan never pushed them to speak. Some wounds healed best without pressure. The feelings, however, grew stronger. At first, Ethan had thought their empathic touch was weak, accidental. Now he knew better. When they were calm, he felt calm. When they were curious, his mind felt light. When they were afraid, it pressed into his chest like a warning. He began to understand that their ability was not a weapon. It was communication, honest and unguarded, and that made them dangerous in a galaxy that survived on lies. The first sign of real trouble came near a dead star system. The ship's sensors picked up multiple drives entering the system at once. Fast, organized. Ethan's stomach tightened. He cut the engines and drifted behind a cluster of broken rock. The twins sensed his fear instantly. Their colors darkened, shifting towards sharp, uneven patterns. Ethan moved to them and placed his hands gently on their shoulders. "Hey," he whispered, "look at me." They did. "I need you to stay calm," he said. "I'll handle this." They did not understand the words fully, but they felt the meaning. Slowly, their colors steadied. The ships entered the system in a wide formation: patrol class, corporate security, even one private hunter vessel. Too many. Someone had talked. A transmission cut across open space, amplified and cold. "Unregistered human vessel. Power up and submit to inspection." Ethan did not respond. Another signal followed, closer now. "You are harboring non-human juveniles classified as abandoned assets. Surrender them and your sentence will be reduced." The twins flinched at the word assets. Ethan felt it like a sharp pain behind his eyes. He stood tall and activated his own broadcast. "They're not assets," he said clearly. "They're children." A pause followed. Then a new voice joined the channel, smoother, practiced. "Human," it said, "your emotional response is noted. However, your species does not hold jurisdiction over." "I don't need jurisdiction," Ethan cut in. "I need you to back away." A ripple of movement ran through the hidden ships. Weapons powered up. Locks clicked into place. The twins cried out then, a sudden burst of sound and light. Their skin flared bright, the colors wild and sharp. The empathic wave slammed outward, uncontrolled. Ethan gasped as the feeling tore through him. Fear, pain, confusion, all magnified. Outside, ships faltered, pilots shouted, systems glitched. Some vessels veered off course, their crews overwhelmed by emotions that were not their own. "Stop!" Ethan shouted, rushing to the twins. He pulled them close, shielding them with his body. "It's okay, you're safe, you're safe." The twins clung to him, trembling. The wave weakened, then faded. The silence that followed was heavy. Several ships powered down weapons. One drifted away entirely. The smooth voice returned, less confident now. "What did you do?" Ethan looked straight into the camera. His face was calm, but his eyes burned. "I protected them," he said. "Something you forgot how to do." He switched frequencies and opened a wideband broadcast. Not just to the ships in the system, but to every channel that would listen. "My name is Ethan Hale," he said. "I found 2 children abandoned in a cargo hold with a note that said they were defective. I refused to leave them." He paused, letting the words settle. "They feel everything: fear, pain, hope. When you threaten them, you feel it too. That's not a weapon, that's a mirror." The galaxy listened. "This ends now," Ethan continued. "You can leave or you can keep trying, but understand this. Humans will break laws for children. We always have, we always will." For a long moment nothing happened. Then one by one ships began to withdraw, not all, but enough. The hunter vessel lingered, engines hot, weapons armed. Ethan did not move. Behind him the twins steadied. Their colors softened, spreading warmth instead of fear. Ethan felt it wrap around him like quiet strength. The hunter ship powered down and turned away. The system fell silent again. Ethan closed the channel and sagged against the console. His hands shook. He laughed once, breathless and disbelieving. The twins touched his arm. This time the feeling they sent was clear: pride. Ethan blinked hard and smiled. "Yeah," he whispered. "Me too." The aftermath came quickly. Messages flooded the network. Neutral species questioning policies. Minor governments issuing statements. Humans quietly paying attention. Ethan kept moving. He did not know where this would end, but he knew one thing for sure. The galaxy had seen something it could not unsee. Two abandoned children had shaken warships without meaning to, and a human had drawn a line in space and dared the universe to cross it. As the wayward sun slipped toward the edge of human space, the twins slept peacefully for the first time, not curled in fear, not gripping each other in desperation. They slept knowing that someone would stand between them and the dark, and far away in places that counted profit and power, a new calculation began, not about cost, about consequences. The border of human-controlled space did not look special. There were no walls, no glowing lines, no signs that said safety began here. Space was the same dark ocean it had always been, but Ethan felt the change anyway. The wayward sun slowed as it crossed the invisible line. Human navigation beacons accepted the ship's ID without question. No warnings followed, no demands. Behind him, the twins stirred as the ship settled into a steady glide. They had grown used to travel now. Jumps no longer frightened them. Engine sounds had become familiar, almost comforting. Ethan stood from the pilot's chair and turned to them. "We made it," he said quietly. They did not understand the words, but they felt the weight lift from him. Their skin colors brightened softly, warm and calm. That calm did not last. The ship's sensors flared with alerts. Multiple contacts appeared on the screen, not attacking, not hiding, just waiting. Ethan's jaw tightened. Human ships, rescue cruisers, patrol vessels, diplomatic transports. They formed a loose arc ahead of the wayward sun, engines idling, weapons silent. No one moved to block his path. They were not here to stop him. They were here to see. A transmission request appeared. Open channel, official. Ethan accepted it. A woman appeared on the screen, her hair pulled back, eyes sharp but not unkind. A human diplomat by her insignia. "Ethan Hale," she said. "You caused quite a ripple." Ethan gave a small, tired smile. "Wasn't my goal." She glanced past him, eyes softening when they found the twins. "But you did what you believed was right." "Yes," Ethan said simply. The diplomat nodded. "So did we. You're clear to proceed. No one will take them from you." Ethan felt his chest loosen just a little. The twins sensed it too. They leaned closer to him, small hands gripping his sleeve. The fleet parted, opening a path. The wayward sun moved forward, slow and steady, into the heart of human space. News traveled faster than ships. By the time Ethan docked at a human station, the story was already everywhere. Footage of the standoff, audio of his broadcast, images of the twins' skin glowing with raw emotion as warships faltered around them. Opinions clashed, arguments flared, but one thing was clear. The galaxy was watching humans again. Station security met Ethan at the dock, but their posture was relaxed, protective. They did not reach for weapons. They did not look at the twins like objects. Medical staff followed, moving gently, speaking softly. They scanned the twins with care, explaining every step even though the twins could not understand the words yet. No one rushed. No one grabbed. The twins stayed close to Ethan through it all. When he was asked to step aside briefly, they panicked, colors flaring bright and sharp. Ethan dropped to one knee immediately. "I'm here," he said firmly. "I'm not leaving." The medical team backed off at once. "We'll work with them," one of them said quietly. "On their terms." Ethan nodded, gratitude thick in his throat. Over the next days, assessments were made. The twins' species was identified. Records were pulled, their origin traced. Their own people had filed the abandonment legally. No recovery claim, no interest in return. That sealed it. Under human law, abandonment meant freedom. A council session was called, not public, but watched closely. Representatives from several species demanded access to the twins. They spoke of danger, of instability, of risk. The human response was calm and firm. These children were discarded, the lead human speaker said. They were harmed by neglect. They will not be harmed again. They are powerful, another representative argued. Yes, the human replied, and they deserve guidance, not chains. Ethan stood at the edge of the chamber, the twins beside him. They felt the tension. Their colors flickered, uncertain. Ethan knelt and met their eyes. "It's okay," he said. "No one here wants to hurt you." This time something new happened. One of the twins stepped forward. Small, shaking, brave, they reached out and placed a hand against Ethan's chest. The feeling that spread was not fear, not confusion, choice. The chamber went silent. The empathic wave rolled outward, gentle but clear. It carried a simple truth that needed no translation. This human was home. Ethan felt tears burn behind his eyes. He placed his hand over the twins and nodded. The decision was immediate. The twins were granted asylum, protection, rights. They were given names, chosen carefully, spoken slowly so they could learn the sound of them. Names that meant light and togetherness in human languages. Ethan signed papers with shaking hands. He had never wanted anything this badly. The wayward son was repaired, upgraded quietly by people who understood gratitude without words. Supplies were stocked. Medical systems enhanced. No one called Ethan a hero. They called him family. Weeks passed. The twins grew stronger. Their laughter came in quiet sounds at first, then brighter ones. They explored the ship with curiosity instead of fear. They learned words, short ones. Important ones: Ethan, here, safe. One evening, as the ship drifted near a blue-white star, Ethan sat beside them and watched space slide by. The galaxy was still dangerous. Laws were still broken. Cruel choices were still made, but something had shifted. Messages arrived from other systems. Stories of abandoned young returned, of policies questioned, of quiet changes made to avoid human attention. No one wanted another moment like that standoff, because the galaxy had learned something important. Humans did not always fight for power. Sometimes they fought for people. The twins leaned against Ethan, one on each side. Their skin glowed softly, peaceful and warm, not reaching outward anymore, not defending, just existing. Ethan rested his head back and let himself breathe. He did not know what the future would bring. Challenges would come. Fear would return sometimes. But this time no one would face it alone. The wayward sun turned slowly, setting a new course among the stars, not as a smuggler's ship, not as a rescue vessel, but as a home. And far beyond human space, in places where children were still labeled defective, a quiet understanding spread. When a human says, "You're mine now," it does not mean ownership. It means the universe just lost its claim.